Hashtag Swedengate. There's been a scandal. Do you know what a scandal is?
Is it about Sweden?
Yeah.
I knew that.
They're not very nice, apparently. They're very rude to their guests they have in their
How dare
homes.
you?
It's unbearable.
I've always thought they were very nice people. I know a couple of Swedish people. They're very nice.
Yeah, they talk like they're singing as well. It's just weird, frankly.
I like that. It reminds me of those old Ingmar Bergman films. But go on, I mean, what is the problem, Callum, with Sweden?
Yeah. So first off, we must promote, firstly, a video here on the channel, seeing the politics of four lions, which has absolutely nothing to do with Sweden. All modern Sweden. Keep that in mind as we go forward. Because if we go to the next one, this is the accusation, which is essentially that Sweden is accused of being inhumane and treating its guests inhumanely, especially black guests in their homes. And this blew up because of a Reddit post on Ask Reddit from some guy who decided to ask, what is the weirdest thing you've had to do at someone else's house because of their culture/religion? And some guy responded by saying, I remember going to a Swedish friend's house, and while we were playing in his room, his mum yelled that dinner was ready. And check this. He told me to wait in his room while they ate. That S is so effing wild. Yeah, it's a little bit weird.
That is weird. I mean, I was asked to stay in my room while my family ate. That was just me, I think. I think that was a personal issue.
Just don't want you at the table anymore, son.
Yeah, that was more personal than cultural. But he's claiming this is a cultural thing.
No, I mean, I've had this too, which is I've gone to someone's house, so I believe it was in Larkhill, and well, they weren't expecting me to come round, so they made dinner, and they were like, well, okay, well, just wait upstairs, play some games. Like, I don't think it's that strange.
But they didn't make
frankly.
you any because you were unexpected. Are they saying this is expected guests?
Well, no one really confers whether they're expected or unexpected, but either way, I feel the comments seem to show that the Swedes just don't care either way, which is funny. Someone else responds, I slept over at a friend's house when we woke up. He said he's going downstairs for a few minutes. After about 15 minutes, I go downstairs to see what the F is happening, and they're eating breakfast. They see me and tell me he's almost done, and we'll be up there soon. I still think about that S 25 years later. Okay, that's a little bit weirder. Where like you stayed overnight and you go, your friend goes down for breakfast, but the people who run the house obviously are just wait upstairs. Like you're not welcome. Stay there.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if that is weirder. It is probably weirder. It's not. I mean, it's just if the dinner was planned, then if the visit was planned, then it's just as bad. They're about equal. But an impromptu visit, I think you can let someone off maybe not having food ready, right? They should at least offer in a token way. Do you want some? But the breakfast thing.
I mean, if you ask, I guess. I mean, I've been to someone's house where they just didn't have money for food either, so it wasn't the circumstance where you could just ask either. But
breakfast is bad. I mean, it could just be like a bowl of cereal, like nothing.
Yeah, you would have thought. I mean, what does that cost? What does it take to organise? Here's some cereal. Shut up, strange kid, or came to my house for a day. But anyway, this is the thread, and it blew up massively. And then there were a lot of memes about this that blew up as well, which are also just very funny, I will say. So I have the first one here from the IKEA catalogue. Nice little family sat around having breakfast, and then someone saying that, well, probably they have someone sitting somewhere in the house waiting to be fed, but they're not allowed in. Hashtag Swedengate. So if you scroll back up there, John, just so we can see the
empty chair.
Yeah, just the empty chair.
That's where they would be.
That's where you would be as a guest, but you're not allowed. If we go to the next one, though, we have some summation of this, which is we have some more memes. So this one here being Swedish family eating dinner. Their guest, not welcome here. And then if we go to the next one, we have a map that someone made in response to all this. And this also blew up. So it's a map of Europe for people listening, in which basically you got what is that? The Mediterraneans, who are almost always giving their guests food, the Slavs and the French, basically, who usually, most of the southern Germans being like unlikely, and then the northern Germanic people, so the northern Germans, Netherlands, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and Finland being like, no, we're just not going to give you food if you come around.
I'm very insulted that England is unlikely to give you food, although I noticed the north is likely, so I think I would come into likely, because I think Cumbria is in the usually yes section.
Yeah, but it is interesting that you've got Englanders in the category of unlikely to give you food, but Scotland and Ireland, the Celts,
it's nonsense.
Culturally different.
This is leftist nonsense. I mean, there's no way. England's very likely to give you food. I mean, the north is more likely, I'll give you that. But don't you think that's a bit harsh on the whole Midlands to southern section of England?
I don't know what the data category was. I don't know if they ever broke it down by county, but it would be good to see if they did.
What's the sort of swampy yellow? What does that signify?
The swampy yellow? What do you mean?
Down there.
Where?
Isn't it like there's like a yellowy green bit? Are we looking at the same thing?
Are you colourblind?
Oh, it's red. It's red. There was light.
What do you mean yellow?
There's a light on it. If I go here, I see it is red, but from here,
right,
it was
mean
a new category.
The unlikely to give you food section. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. No,
okay.
No, sorry, it was the light was shining weird on it. Disregard.
Sure.
It was that. Although my grandpa did that. He had colour blindness, so he couldn't be a pilot, tragically. But he did work on the planes during the Second World War. But I do not have it. It was the light shining on it weirdly.
Well, did you ever ask him why he joined the army? Well, the
Why?
RAF. Yeah.
Everyone thought it was Second World War.
Yeah, but did you ever ask him and just like, well, what made you enthusiastic
It was
for it?
patriotism. You didn't ask why. Both my
Okay.
grandparents fought in it.
There's a friend of mine. Her dad was in the Royal Navy, and she asked him, what made everyone so excited to sign up? Because he went out first thing, and she, did you want to fight for the country? Did you want to defend Britain? Did you want to fight for British values? And he went, nah, I want to kill some Germans.
Nice.
Very good response.
Well, they don't give you any food. That's the big problem with them. But it was just, I think for my other granddad, it was just a job because he had no money. And he went in at 16. That's what they did, right?
Fair enough.
We don't need to get into my history of poverty.
Did he give you food if you went round as a guest?
It's a good question. Yeah, they always gave food, definitely.
Oh,
yeah, I don't
yeah.
believe it. I mean, we are from the north, so we can still question it. But I think that pink on the England is a bit harsh, isn't it?
Well, anyway, this is the map that's made. But what's noticeable, of course, is the fact that you've got the cultural differences, and primarily, let's be honest, it's the Protestant Germans, essentially, that are in the deep red category of no, and therefore planning for their future instead of just being like, oh, random person turned up, give him food instead. But I'm sure there will be differing opinions in the chat about this. If we go to the next one, though, there was a Twitter space. You know what these are?
Yes, they're the sort of audio things that people get together and chat.
Like a Twitter Zoom call that you can just jump in, listen to,
yeah.
maybe chat on. And this Swedish lady here, this black Swedish lady, decided to host one called "All My Life I Had to Fight" #Swedengate in response to all this. And this also blew up in response. And I listened to it yesterday, and it was hilarious because this is where the racial aspect comes in, which is if they don't want to give us food, that is racism.
It's about time Sweden got their comeuppance. You know what I mean? They've been hiding in plain sight with their convenient furniture and their high standard of living and good-looking people. How dare they?
Yeah. So she says here, now that Sweden gets over, here's the recording for all you racist peeps, screen recording for your YouTube channels. You didn't have to. I regret nothing I said. Well, you probably should have because it was really dumb. But I do have the recordings, and I thought we'd go through some of it because it's interesting at least. So we'll play the first one in which she says why Sweden is racist.
All my life, I had to fight. Right now, I'm fighting in my comments. I'm fighting the Swedes. I'm fighting for my life and my experiences as a Black woman. Majority of white Swedes are agreeing that, yeah, shit, we have to rethink why we do this. And half of them are like, oh, the earth is flat. Sweden is perfect. And we're the best nation in the world. How are we the best nation when you have Black and brown people here that are literally sharing our experiences? How?
I am so not surprised because as I lived in Sweden, this is the kind of things I discovered also as a French of African descent. The thing about not sharing the food, not sharing the booze during parties. This was crazy for me. And I was like, what do you mean you don't share booze? What do you mean we have to go to the Systembolaget, which is a state place where Swedish people, and you have to keep your own booze. And they were like, be careful that nobody steals your booze during the party. And I was like, what? And after they finish, they take their bottles, their empty bottles and cans back home, and they go to those stores and they put them in some kind of recycling machine. So they get little cents or little coins back so they can go buy groceries.
Okay,
this is crazy.
So there's one of the complaints as to why Sweden is racist, because they protect their booze at parties because they want to drink their booze. I don't think that's unreasonable.
No, you see why they're so rich now? They protect their wealth and assets, don't they?
Yeah, it's mine. What are you doing with my bottles?
But it's nice to hear that. It's nice for England and Britain to get a break from being always on the spotlight, and it's moved to Sweden for a bit. And it's also interesting that hating your own country is now becoming popular in Sweden as well.
I mean, I love the idea that they're the grand imperial power of the world now.
Yeah,
I do see. I remember back when the Swedish flag became racist for a while in Swedish politics, and it was like, yeah, because of imperialism. And it was like, Sweden.
Yeah,
imperialism.
You didn't do anything.
What, against the Poles? What are you talking about? So she also mentions in here the system. I don't know how you say it, Blaget, which is the government-run liquor stores that they have in Sweden, and it's very weird, and I don't understand it, but whatever. So apparently the government essentially sells all the liquor through the government-run stores, and there's a ridiculous amount of tax on them, which means that people obviously are quite defensive. The fact that their alcohol costs about twice as much as it does in Germany.
Commies. They're all commies, man.
Yeah,
but they're kind of rich commies.
But they also have to return the bottles, as you said, and you get money back for returning the bottles. So it's actually worth having your bottles. So someone stealing your bottles, yeah, that's kind of annoying, I would have thought. Like,
We
you
used
want
to
to
have
get
that
your money
with,
back.
with milk and stuff, didn't we?
Did we?
We had it with Coke bottles. We had it with Coke bottles back in the day. You're too young.
Nah, not for me.
I think I might be too young, but I've heard of it. You took back your Coke bottles and you got 1p or something. People in the chat they've got no idea. They won't know.
But anyway, this is obviously the reason why. Also, that they're defensive of their alcohol, which again seems logical. Not really seeing where the racism is yet, for example, but they're going to allege that it's essentially because they are black, this happens to them, but it also happens to white people, which isn't racism, you would have thought. But if we go to the next clip, we have them complaining that if you ever criticize this, then you are racist. Let's play.
Exactly. I feel like now that this information has reached TikTok, like the younger generation are crying about it. Like, yeah, but my mom's not a bad person if she doesn't feed my friends. We just didn't calculate for them to eat with us. And I was like, bruh, you're not stating your case. I thought Swedes are very smart. Look at the situation, take a step back, and don't try to justify what's unjustifiable. This is something I live with my whole life. It doesn't matter how perfect Swedish you speak. It doesn't matter how much you take their customs, no matter how much you assimilate. Whenever you do something that they feel you're not being grateful to be in the country, suddenly you need to go back to Africa, you monkey. This is not all Swedes that do this. Some people actually have shame and will see kids in their house and invite them to dinner and give them food or snacks and things like that. Then you have a lot of them that will not do that. And that is a fact. Even towards white kids, this is not just black and brown kids, it's even other white kids.
I mean, it just makes no sense whatsoever.
I mean, firstly, you can tell they're a rich country. She's got that much time to spend on this incredibly minor issue. Also, I like that the co-host is called Abyss because we have entered the abyss here. And why? Yeah, at the end, she very quickly undermines her entire argument. This is the problem with the racism. Doesn't matter how good Swedish you speak, it's always going to be a racist thing. And as white people as well, it's not racist. She threw that in at the end.
Yeah, it makes no
completely
goddamn
undermining
sense.
her own point.
I mean, her own job apparently is criticizing Sweden and doing commentary.
Well, she's definitely doing it.
So there's that.
Oh,
But-
she's smashing it then.
like, oh, they say go
take
home,
it
you
all
monkey,
back.
but then they do it to white kids as well. Yeah, no one called you that. That didn't happen. Like, I'm not believing you that any Swede would actually do that as well for
No.
you trying to steal their glasses.
They're the most ultra-liberal people in the world. I mean, I've actually checked with my Swedish friend if this happens. She didn't get back to me, so we don't know. I'd like to know if this... have you spoken to any actual Swedes and found out if this really happens or if it's just a meme?
I checked out the Swedish commentary online, and they were all just like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, you're not entitled to my food just because you come
So
to
it
my
is
house.
normal that they don't give the food.
To be honest, I'm down with it. Yeah. Some rando turns up to your house, and you're not planning dinner. Like...
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad, but I'm just trying to establish, does it happen? But okay, I'd love to get feedback from my friends. But so it does happen, but you think it's fine?
I think it's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
I don't think it's rude at all. And the idea that it's because I's black, even though we do it to white kids as well, is logically
It's
incoherent.
flawed. It's definitely flawed.
But if we go to the next clip, she continues that, and another one continues, complaining that Sweden, remember, the country of yes, Sweden memes, is no place for brown-skinned people or queers. Let's play.
All brought alcohol together. I can't imagine having to watch my alcohol and making sure that nobody touches it or drinks it.
Lungelo, Swedish people have eyes in the back of their head. The moment you go near their bottle, it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go back to Africa.
We often hear things about
Just
Sweden
mix it
being
up.
a very accepting country and welcoming country, but what people don't realize is that there really isn't any, there are no places that broadly promotes culture or spaces for people of color. The queer community, for instance, you always hear about how welcoming queer spaces are in Sweden and that we're so liberal when it comes to LGBTQ rights. But to be honest, there's actually almost no space for queer people in Sweden at all. You will not see the huge demonstrations. You will not see political, social movements, human rights campaigns that are massive, like you may see in the US, for instance. Like, these things don't really exist because it's so integrated in society that you should just mind your own business.
There's no people in Sweden. That's what he's missed. It's famously like, there's not that many people there, is there? We had this during COVID, the population density. He's saying there aren't these massive movements. Yeah, there's no one there.
Like
and
the
it's
whole
too cold to
country's
go out.
the population of London or something like that.
Yeah. So of course you don't have a massive movement. There aren't that many people.
But also just what a stupid criticism is like, oh, they have this culture of mind your own business and it's terrible because we don't have endless pride marches. What? But like, they're open and accepting and tolerant of people doing whatever they want, but they don't have endless pride marches, so it's homophobic. Like, that's not what homophobia means, you moron. Like the idea that they have a culture in which everyone can do as they please and mind your own business. Surely that's the ideal? And that was the liberal ideal? And instead, no. What we need is endless pride marches to remind us that homophobia exists even where it doesn't.
Yeah, it's weird. And you know what? They're so liberal in Sweden. They've actually gone with the spousal maintenance laws. They're actually the next stage from us. You know how we, in our country, men have no rights, but then if you do get divorced, you have to pay for everything. In Sweden, they've got rid of that. So the woman is not expected to like get money from the man anymore. That's how liberal they are. They say no women can stand on their own 2p. So they're super progressive.
Just to demonstrate the queer liberality as well. I don't know if you ever saw this. This always made me laugh. So this is a Svenska Dagbladet. This is a newspaper headline here. If you scroll down on this, you can see the headline, which is a flag worth defending. And then it's Swedish soldiers with the rainbow flag. Not the Swedish flag, of course. That is the flag worth defending. I mean, the idea that Sweden is not open and accepting to homosexuals, I mean, you couldn't be more stupid.
What invading army is trying to attack that flag as well? That's
the
that's
heteros.
The key point. Yeah. Coming in from Norway with their hetero army. Yeah.
That's just Russians coming through Finland.
This is the ultimate escalated quickly, isn't it? We started off with you're not allowed fish fingers when you go around your mate's house. Then it was go back to Africa. Now it's the LGBTQ thing. It's just how did this happen?
Just clearly all made up by these people.
I just remember my friend who's Swedish is half she's half Tunisian, so when she has to go back to Africa, it's actually just she's visiting her dad. So confusing for her.
She's trying. I've got the plane ticket. But if we go down on this, if you can click away and then scroll down, there's also another headline in here, which is the funniest one, which is we don't always march straight is the poster headline. So if you keep going, there's a poster that says we don't always march straight there. That one. I mean, that's the recruitment ads for the Swedish military.
It's good camouflage if they're near a rainbow.
Otherwise,
flag.
It's obviously just queer propaganda and not about acceptance either, because it's not about tolerance. It's instead about promotion, which is a different matter. But if we go on to the next clip, we also have the final complaint from this Twitter space that blew up, which I find hilarious. Which is one of them complains it's awful because if you go to a barbecue in Sweden, God forbid, you're expected to bring food. Let's play.
Being invited, like I said, to a barbecue and then being told to bring your own food. And I've heard people defending it in terms of, it's about getting together. And I'm like, yes, but no, because you've invited me to have food. So I'm going to leave my house, bring my food to your house, cook my food at your house. And then what? Like, I can't wrap my brain around that.
Yeah, and it's not as unusual as people would like to think. Like, I know I limit the amount of white Swedish friends I have because some of the weirdness I just cannot take.
The idea that if you go to a barbecue, you should ask, well, what do you want me to bring? Like, to bring some sausages.
That's what a barbecue is.
Yes.
It's like saying, we had a picnic and they made us go outside. You bring stuff to a barbecue. Everyone knows that. You bring different meats to a barbecue. That is part of the barbecue, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like the fondue. You dip it in the thing in the middle. That's the point.
But like,
I went to the fondue. They asked me to dip my stick in the middle.
I want to just
black.
eat the stick because I'm brain dead, apparently.
That is a barbecue. And then, by the way, what was that thing about? What was that bit of racism she suddenly got in there? I've limited my amount of white
Swedish friends.
But you're in the wrong country in Sweden. Like all these white people.
Gothenburg, hang out with the refugees, I suppose, instead, if that's your future. But then I would have thought you'd hang out with the
I've
Swedes.
limited my white friends because they won't give me food.
Yeah, so that's all the Sweden Gate stuff that blew up in the sense of just being like, what the hell is wrong with you people? You don't give us food when we come. And then there was a bunch of other stuff that blew up that I thought I'd reference because Sweden does have a lot of funny memes, as most other foreign countries do, with some of the naming conventions they have, if nothing else. So if we get this one up, this is someone saying that Sweden not only starve children, but they also have racist ice cream, 88 or Heil Hitler flavor, N-word black and N-word plain as well.
I'll be honest, this one looks worse.
Yeah,
to the layman.
None of it's true, obviously.
Right.
It's like, strangely enough, in Sweden, they don't name their ice creams after the N-words or Heil Hitler.
Imagine you go around, they don't offer you any food. This is all they offer you, though. They do offer you that, but nothing else.
Yeah. That would be pretty racist if you were just like, only this. Nothing more for you, child. But yeah, no, it gets its name from nougat, of course. Not from the N-word. That would be kind of weird for a modern-day ice cream. And funnily enough, 88 is not Heil Hitler in this case.
So from the way they were talking in that Twitter space, you probably think this is what goes on in Sweden.
I can't tell how much of this is jokes and how much of it is people being stupid as well, because the previous one was very stupid. If we go to the next one, we have a tweet that someone deleted, presumably because they looked stupid. BLM, load of fists in the bio, of course. The Swedish midsummer pole is a tradition dating back to the Swedish colonialism in the 1600s that actually is meant to represent the gallows used to hang escaped slaves. No, it's not. That's just BS that someone just made up. It's like, okay, right, that was also part of the hashtag Swedengate that blew up. Just the idea that white supremacy still remains because of midsummer poles. If we go to the next one, there is the funny response that I did see from some internet racists, which was in response to stuff like this, being like, actually, we agree with the leftists. Sweden is terribly racist. Please don't come. Like, okay.
Isn't this your burner account? This is.
I would never put the Ukrainian flag in my bio. What are you talking about?
You're right.
No, this is obviously just someone who's engaging with the dialogue and coming to the same conclusions, but from a different angle there, of course. Although there is some funny instances in Sweden, which I think do have more merit than they won't give me food when I visit, or at least are weirder. This is a story that blew up ages ago that got reshared. A Swedish minister in racist cake controversy. Can you tell what it is yet?
Oh, yeah.
If you scroll down on this one, this is pretty bloody weird. So if you keep scrolling to the next image, please, you can see in here. Yeah, this was the Swedish cultural minister who was at some opening and cut open a cake that is pretty horrific for that. The artist behind the cake was progressive, which makes me laugh even further. Mr. Linder, who is black but born in Stockholm, said the work had been misunderstood. A black man made this installation and then was complaining that it was misunderstood when people called it racist. He told the BBC that his art had tackled different prejudice and ideas of oppression for many years. I have been doing this by revamping black faces into different contexts so that when the Swedish art organisation asked me to design a cake, it felt totally natural.
And I like it says he placed his own head at the top. Is that his own head like poking through from under the table?
Yeah.
Or like a representation of his own head? Or is it literally him?
I don't know.
Popping up?
It's all kinds of weird. But this image got shared a lot without context, so I thought I'd demonstrate the context in case anyone runs into it.
And the context doesn't help, funnily enough.
Makes it worse.
It's like, guys, you've got to see it in context. Just have, and it's still bad. Can't confirm.
Don't worry, Jesse Lee Peterson made this.
The only way it'd be worse if he was eating one of those ice creams we just saw at the time.
It is ridiculous. But then there is one last thing, which is true. It is strange for Swedish culture, which is, if we go to the next one here, we have the woman who made the space complaining here. In Sweden, white people are fighting for their life to call chocolate balls N-balls in Sweden. And yeah, this is actually a real thing. You can see this online.
I've had these. They are nice. Quite hard to order them, though.
No,
it's quite a difficult conversation in the shop.
I'd like a 12 chokladboll. Tack. It's like, if you can actually look up a recipe at home, I would highly recommend. They are incredibly nice with some coconut oil and oats to be made, is how I usually do them.
I'd like to see the Ferrero Rocher advert, but with these. You were really spoiling us, for sure.
Yeah, well, they've been, as she says, renamed to chocolate balls, chocolate ball, some places. And then if we get to the last one here, there is one other response that I thought was of note, which is, I'm not actually that surprised if there are some strange views in Sweden, given the history Sweden has had. You might say that Sweden is being inhumane to these black ladies by not giving them food as soon as they arrive at their house. I think there's probably more inhumane things going on in Sweden, and we can name them with the migrants. So if you just scroll through this just quickly, there's a whole bunch in here. There's the fact that the refugees have cost Swedes $18.6 billion every year. It's about 60 grand per refugee. Fantastic. The next one is him saying that they found that 60% of all rapists in the last year were of immigrant backgrounds, half being outside Sweden. And it goes on and on and on of just inhumane things that have happened to Sweden over the previous years. And if you scroll down to the videos, there's then just endless videos. So if you go to the next one here, there's just endless videos of just horrible things happening to people. This is just some poor girl who's just walking. Just
oh my God.
Perfectly nice people who have turned up, very, very welcoming to the hospitality. And then it just goes on with just another whole bunch of horrible things.
Terrific.
And frankly, I think it's worth mentioning because it would be wrong to leave it out.
And if you go right to the very bottom, there's a barbecue where someone's been forced to bring their own food.
It's unbearable.
If we could get to that.
This one's gross as hard. Some lady throwing fecal matter at strangers. It's because she's oppressed, presumably. And then if we play the last clip here, this is just the local Gothenburg's man on his opinion on what's happened.
Nej, men alltså min son har blivit rånad 3 gånger. 2 gånger utav somalier och 1 gång ifrån araber. Och han är 19 år och han är ju mer eller mindre märkt för livet. Han vågar ju inte gå ut själv. En annan gick ut i Göteborg och när man var i den åldern var ju inga problem. Idag är det ju fruktansvärt. Hade jag haft en dotter hade förmodligen gått med en laddad hagelbössa och följt efter henne ungefär 10 meter bakom. Det är ju helt absurt. Så ja, nej, det är, alltså, den här invandringen är totalt hänsynslös mot det svenska folket. De har förrått vårat land. Jag är 60-talist. Jag vet hur det var att växa upp på 70- och 80-talet. Tittar idag. Det är helt otroligt. Jag åker till mina gamla förorter på Hisingen, Angered. Det går inte att gå där. Det är ju helt otroligt. Alltså, ja, jag kan inte uttrycka det med ord. Alltså avsky för den här.
So there you have it. And I thought I'd include that because it'd be wrong to leave it out. Because you can claim all you want that there are inhumane actions going on in Sweden with requiring people to bring sausages to a barbecue. But there are actually, the Swedish story does have some much more inhumane things going on. Frankly.
Yeah, that's horrendous. He would follow his daughter with a shotgun. I mean, I'd like to see that movie, like a Swedish revenge movie. But other than that, horrific.
Yeah, for people listening who couldn't see the subtitles, he was celebrating the diversity of Gothenburg and how it has brought glory and wonder to Gothenburg. I suppose we'll leave it there.
Yes, that was it.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast, The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Epoch series, this one between Carla Bow on the life of Pompey. If you want to find out what else we're bringing out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.